As America's largest family control bank, First Citizens has been supporting consumers and small businesses across the US for more than 120 years. They operate more than 600 locations in 22 states and recently merged with CIT Group, making them one of the top 20 US banks. Phil Haynes is the Senior Director of Business Credit for the bank. Welcome to Small Business Matters, Phil.
Thank you, Gary. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So could you tell us how First Citizens is supporting small business?
Yeah, I would say we're supporting small business in several ways, and I'll be kind of broad and then maybe even a little bit more specific. But really, primarily we support small business through our bankers, through our branch network throughout the country. As you mentioned, we have 600 branches across 22 states in the country, and we've delivered that brand. We're concentrated here in the Southeast, North Carolina, South Carolina, but branches from East Coast and West Coast and beyond. But it's our bankers working with our clients to help drive solutions that help them manage risk and manage their opportunities. That really is kind of the primary driver of how we help small businesses. You mentioned that we are the largest family-controlled bank in the country, and that gives us kind of a special insight, I think, into how small businesses and privately held businesses and large companies as well, manage their risk, manage their opportunities. We grew from a single branch in Smithfield, North Carolina, to the branch network that we have today. So starting as a small business and becoming as large as we have over the 124 years that we've done gives us that kind of unique perspective, if you will, into managing a family-owned or family private enterprise. And I would say, if you think recently and really what's gone on in the last 2 years, we were fortunate to work with our clients, our customers, to deliver 34,000 PPP loans, Paycheck Protection loans through the SBA to our clients. And I think that's just another reflection on, being there for our clients over the long term through different periods and being able to help them out through that process.
So what are your small business clients? What do you think they value the most about First Citizens?
Yeah, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I really think it's our bankers. I think it's the value that they drive in building relationships, building trust with their clients over the long term. I think it's also about our bankers building those relationships internally with our subject experts, whether it's credit experts that I have in my group, or it's treasury experts, or it's wealth experts, or it's risk management experts to help our customers manage their risk, help them grow their business over time. But it starts with that foundation of trust that our bankers build with our customers, and I think that's just really kind of the primary focus of what our bankers are out there. They're the face of our organization, but they represent a lot of people and a lot of expertise behind the scenes.
Yeah. So what should a small business have in place before seeking out funding with First Citizens?
Well, I think that depends on the what they're after, the size of the business that they have. But I think certainly a strong foundation of good credit history. Good credit scores, driving those scores, both through their personal scores and their business scores. I think that's really important. I think it's important to have a plan. Obviously, how are the funds going to be used? How are the funds going to help them succeed or manage their costs or expand their business, and helping our bankers understand what that is, what that looks like. And then, of course, really well organized and good financial information on the history of their company and where it's been and what it's done. I like to always say that our bankers, when they're talking to our customers, they're gathering the story, they're telling the story of their customers, and the financial information that we gather on the customers to do the underwriting we do helps connect the dots between the story of the customer and really the outcomes that the customer has, their ability to repay the loan as we go through our analysis. So I think it's important to have really all three of those aspects in place.
Yeah, very important. So as interest rates rise, fintech rates will rise. Is First Citizens viewing this as a win-back opportunity?
Well, I really think, economic cycles bring their own unique challenges, and every economic cycle does that. It's the unique challenges and the unique opportunities, and I don't know that it's necessarily fintechs that are we're trying to win back business from. I think we try to use our experience, our long experience, and our history of working through economic cycles like this to both drive loyalty in our existing client base, that hopefully they see the value of working with a bank that has been through these cycles many times, and also drive opportunity to do business with clients that see that stability, that long-term perspective, and say that's really where I want to be. So whether it's fintechs or name whatever competition has been out there historically or might be out there in the future, it's more about the cycle than it is about where the competition is. Yeah. That's a process.
Gotcha. So with record numbers of new businesses forming, there were 5.4 million in 2021. Yeah. How are you dealing with the new credit seeker?
So, it's about that. It's about having the bankers in front of them to help them prepare for the loan that they're seeking. But it's also about having the products available to them. We have, we have a wide range of credit products, wide range of sizes of those credit products, from small check line reserve accounts or overdraft protection accounts to large lines of credits, credit cards, equipment financing, real estate financing when our borrowers are ready for all of that. I think that's that those are the things that we have available to make available to our clients. Through the CIT merger that you talked about, we have a really expansive and very robust equipment finance program that we offer to our clients. And that's an indirect lending program that we offer through manufacturers or dealers on a private label or a co-branded solution that really gets equipment financing into the hands of those small business customers, and they may not even know it's us. Obviously, if it's a private label branding, we also do SBA financing, traditional 7A financing through the bank. SBA 504 is another program that we also are very actively engaged in. So that helps small businesses that maybe aren't quite ready for that conventional financing need, and we need to seek that additional guarantee to give them the boost, give them the leg up, and then eventually graduate them into more of a conventional finance borrower for us.
Yeah, I was struck by the variety of financial products that you offer on your web. I was looking at your website, particularly on the real estate side of things.
Yes.
What is the Forever First promise? Can you talk about that?
Well, it has to do with our history. It's about being there over the long haul, over the long term for our customers. And it started out as a branding strategy that was reflective of who we are as a company. And that's just it. It's the long-term approach that we take with our clients. But the interesting thing about Forever First that I see is that it really has reinforced or re-energized within our company and our associates that whole promise of Forever First and being there for the long term for our clients. It's about valuing relationships and making sure that we build those relationships over time, and that we're going to be with our customers for the long haul. 124 years old now, and continue to grow that to grow those years of service.
I would imagine that you are adapting as your customers adapt, and as your mobile is taking off in big ways, right? A lot of financial companies are adapting. How has your mobile strategy evolved?
So, we use our mobile strategy, I think, as a complement to the overall strategy that we have with our customers. So this is going to sound cliche, but meeting them where they are, and giving them the solutions to be able to manage their kind of day-to-day activities on their accounts with their tablet or with their phone or their computer, manage their risk, manage their deposits, manage whatever they need to do. But that's a complementary service from the mobile strategy through our customer contact center and through our bankers to really help support our small businesses. But I think what we find is that when our clients, our business customers really want to have that strategic discussion, that bigger picture discussion, that it's important to have the banker engaged as well. So the digital is a complement to what we do. We've got to offer it, and we do, and we want to make sure that it works really well. It's there for our clients, but it is a complementary service to our clients overall.
So how does First Citizens embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion? It's a big theme these days, particularly with bankers and at Experian. I mean, we've got a huge focus on diversity right now. How are you embracing that?
So I really think it's just the way we interact with one another, and I believe that diversity of voices, a diversity of thought and process and voices into the company, into the solution, really help drive better solutions. So it's a practice, not just a theme, if you will. And I think when you have diverse voices and you celebrate diversity and you celebrate cultural differences and you bring those in, you build that trust amongst the associates themselves, and then from the trust that you build by having and respecting those diverse voices, you drive towards that common purpose of success that you want to have, and you do that together. So we're constantly evolving in our diversity programs through our communication efforts, through our online resources, but really it gets down to kind of the day-to-day work we do with the diverse associate base that we have, but also that represent the diverse communities that we are in to make sure that we're I don't want to say using, but bringing that into the fold and make sure that we're listening to those voices, respecting those voices, because that's what drives really good solutions at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Phil, this has been very illuminating. Can you tell our listeners where to learn more about First Citizens Bank?
Well, I would say the easiest place is to go onto our website at firstcitizens.com and explore the different offerings that we have, to explore the history and the people of our company is a great way to learn a lot more about First Citizens Bank. But we do have 600 branches too. So if we're in a community that you're in, visiting a First Citizens branch is also another way to engage with us.
Fantastic. Thanks for taking time out to speak to us today, Phil.
Glad to do it, Gary. Thank you.